is which fundamental principle are treated, and then do internal procedure as is the mitigate the threat, and the last one is what are the alternative causes of action. This is the 5 things that we should know. Okay, so back to our question. Is it appropriate or not? It is not appropriate. Why? Because the first one, is this profitable? Yes. According to the Ford cost and benefit analysis, not installing the rubber bladder can largely reduce the cost of the car. It is profitable, but in the short run, okay? Not in the long run. The second one is this legal? Yes. Society at the large legal enforcement was certified. And then the third one is this fair? No. Apparently, by not solving the problem, many stakeholder interests are in trade, as well as those who life were put in danger. Okay, so the next. And then, okay, is this the right? No. Other right of all were impact adversely due to the decision. Okay, and then the last one, is it demonstrating expected motivation, virtue, and character? No. The decision not to install the rubber bladder ignore the social impact of a decision in favor of maximizing short-run profit. The issue of sustainability does not appear to be as important. That's all from the question number 1. Thank you. Next.
Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to Dr. Shahida and to all my classmates. Can you hear my voice?
Yes. Can you proceed?
Okay, Doctor. Now I will present about the question number 2, which requires to identify the fault in Ford cost-benefit analysis. What are those faults? Firstly, put a value on human life and injury. Second, did not consider the loss reputation. And third, discounting is not employed. Before I elaborate those faults, I would like to mention that Ford cost-benefit analysis utilize the concept utilitarianism. We have learned before that utilitarianism defines good and evil in terms of pleasure and pain. So the most ethical decision is when pleasure outweighs the pain. For this case, they might be tempting to make their cost-benefit analysis as utilitarian in nature. We can see it when Ford decided not to spend their money to install rubber bladder. It is because its total cost was greater than its total benefit. They regarded such decision as unethical. So this is the first fault which put a value on human life and injury. Why put a value on human life and injury become a fault? It's because they ignore human rights for the sake of spending profit. In the cost-benefit analysis, they calculate total benefit and total cost from installing rubber bladder. They put $2,000 for people's death and $57 for people's serious injuries. Besides that, in fatality payment component, they put cost of fixing pain and suffering for $10,000. So it has caused the biggest moral issue as people's lives just worth that value. This is the second one. They did not consider the loss reputation in the cost-benefit analysis. The case of Ford Pinto has significantly impacted Ford Motor Company reputation. They also was charged with reckless homicide in the death of 3 Indiana teenagers who were killed when their Ford Pinto was hit from behind. That's why they should have predicted the lost reputation. Of course, the lost reputation cannot be measured directly, but they could predict the lost unit of sale resulting from a bad decision. From the prediction, they could see the lost reputation they will face when they decided not to install rubber bladder in the gas tank. This is the last part. Lastly, discounting is not employed in the cost-benefit analysis. What is discounting? Discounting is defined as the process of determining the present value of a payment or a stream of payment that is to be received in the future. How? When the cost and benefit are discounted, the time value of money would reflected in cost-benefit analysis. Why? It is because the time value of money, TVM, is based on the idea that people would rather have money today as it can earn compound interest that is more valuable in the present rather than in the future. That's all for me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum, I'm Nur Ain binti Abdul Razak. Next, I will answer for the question of the case that should Ford have given its Pinto customer the option to have the rubber bladder installed during production for say $20. The answer is no, because the suggestion given the customer the option to have rubber bladder installed during production is impractical. This is because it is responsibility of the Ford company to install the rubber bladder during production to ensure their customer can use the vehicle safely. Pinto customer are stakeholder, which is they invest money to buy the vehicle, and they have the right to obtain safe vehicle and can be used safely because it involves their life and safety. The suggestion by Ford company will be considered unethical because it impacts too often the right of the stakeholder impacted on, which is Pinto customer. Payment of $20 from the customer for installation of rubber bladder, as if like the customer is the one that has to bear the cost of negligence or mistakes made by the company itself in order to save costs. That's all from me for the explanation for the last question of the case. Last but not least, we will end the presentation with question and answer session.
Okay, thank you, group number 5. So now, I open the Q&A session. For group number 1 first. For any comments or would like to share something or to ask them a question. Group number 1.
Hello, Assalamualaikum.
Hmm.
Doktor. Okey. Nak tanya dalam satu-satu lah. Okey. Adakah kita boleh cakap it is possible kita nak cakapnya mistake tu bermula daripada dia tidak ambil supervisor. Dan adakah kita boleh cakap bahawa yang grup R&D dia orang tu tak ada skill, low skill dalam technical yang sebenar, practical.
Okay, thank you. Group number 5, any answer?
Okay, Assalamualaikum. My name is Siti Shaila. I would like to answer this question. Based on my understanding, this is not the mistake from not appoint the supervisor and low technical skill among management. Ford Motor Company is known by their high standards of product quality. They adopt a number of quality control process to increase the production and minimize mistake. In this case, although Ford has access to a new design which would decrease the possibility of the Ford Pinto from exploding, but the management still choose not to implement the design. This design would have cost $11 per car, even though the analysis showing that the new design would result in 180 less deaths. So, in this case, even though they have the chance to improve the design, but they rather use the risk-benefit analysis. That's all from me.
Okay. Ini ada question.
Okay,
Ada question
nampaknya
ke?
saya lagi dah tu.
Group number 1 tak ada. You ada 5 members kan? Mana yang lain?
Saya pun tunggu juga doktor.
Tak ada ke? Seorang pun tak ada?
Saya rasa mungkin tak tahu lah doktor. Saya tak ada nak cakap juga.
Kejap saya tengok siapa group number 1 ni. Pasti you all tak discuss ke untuk ni? Case ni?
Yang soalan saya reka ya.
Ahmad, Azfar, Adam, Nurul Syahada kan group you kan?
Doktor.
So boleh tak saya nak bagi opportunity to other group members untuk ask the question or comment. Tak semestinya ask question, you boleh juga comment ataupun boleh tambah any input regarding the case. Ahmad, Azfar, Adam, Syahidah. Kalau tak macam unfair pula, I bagi markah untuk satu group. Seorang je yang tanya.
Ada connection seorang, masalah connection seorang. Okay.
Nurul Syahidah tu group you lah? Okay, tak
Ya,
apa. Saya baca check Nurul Syahidah. Alright, Syahidah, proceed with your question. Ni marah ke apa caps lock ni chat ni? Okay, sementara tu ada tak nak komen apa-apa on group presentation ni? Group number 5. Sementara tunggu Syahidah bagi question.
Ya, presentation dah okey, dah cantik, kreatif dah nampak. Cuma soalan satu tu macam tidak menjawab. Sebab dia macam dia minta 5 step dalam untuk framework tu.
5 question tu kan? Tak apa, yang ni kita tak belajar lagi sebenarnya. Saya akan explain lepas ni lah. Saya saja bagi you soalan dulu. Okay, Syahidah ask the question Adakah changes untuk project Pinto ni success? What kind of changes do you mean, Syahidah? Group number 5 you boleh baca question Syahidah tu kat chat kan? So any answer for that question?
Saya rasa maksud dia tu doktor. Ada peluang
Changes.
tak? Ada peluang tak nak projek pintu ni nak berjaya? Nak berjaya dalam pasaran dari segi market, lepas tu
Saya rasa Ford Pinto ni dah lama pun keretanya dah stop production apa kan?
lepas tu dia macam adakah dengan perubahan sikit je akan menyebabkan brand dia tu apa, jenama kereta tu boleh jadi bentuk macam contoh kita tengok macam kereta Proton kan, ada setengah dia sekarang ni ada X5 kan, betul kan? Yang X5 tu hanya disebabkan perubahan design dia. Sekarang kita tengok design daripada Wira, Proton, berubah design sikit je tu jadi innovation sikit je, cantik terus design dia. Adakah dengan perubahan macam tu pun boleh menyebabkan projek untuk kereta pintu ni berjaya?
Okay, group number 5. Do you have any answer for that question?
Hello,
Hi.
my name is Umi Kalsum.
Alright.
Okay, I will answer the question from Nurul Shohaida.
Okay.
Okay, in my opinion, yes, Ford Pinto project still have a chance to success on the production of the Pinto. It is because there are two remedies available to Ford, which are should mounting the gas tank above the rear axle. These remedies would cut down on trunk space. The second remedy is installing a rubber bladder in the gas tank. These remedies did not success because the Ford company sees that the cost of installing a rubber bladder vastly exceed the benefits. However, the Ford should consider the car that will make it safer for customer safety compared to the cost used. So that in my opinion, the first remedies may be a chance for the Ford to success in the production of the car Pinto. Okay, that's all.
Okay. Thank you, group number 5. Group number 1, ada lagi apa-apa tak? So, group number 1, what do you think on the case?
Okay, soalan last. Okay. Dalam dari sudut manajemen, dalam perspektif manajemen lah, yang macam BOD, dalam perspektif manajemen, apakah tindakan dia untuk situasi di atas? Terhadap pekerja dia ke, terhadap society ke, macam mana dia akan react? Dia akan tindak balas untuk, kalau dia dah jual kereta tu, lepas tu dia nak bertindak balas untuk kerana situasi macam tu macam mana?
Okay, group number 1. Group number 1, group number 5.
Okay, I will answer this question. In my opinion, the management reaction based on the situation occurred to the Ford is the management will feel unconfident to make the decision and disappoint with the decision they already made, which is not to use the new design while they already know that the new design could minimize the mistakes. Because of the management mistakes to make a decision, this situation could give the effect to the brand of the Ford Motor Company if they did not solve all of these mistakes. That's all.
Okay. Okay, so I think enough for question and answer for group presentation and also group discussion. Thank you for both groups. Hopefully you get some benefit from attempt to read the case and also attempt to answer the question. I know actually the case already being discussed. Kalau you Google tu memang dah keluar discussion dan saya tahu you pun ambil dari situ je. Alright, but now the most important thing is that I want you to get some exposure on how to answer and how to understand case of business ethics. Okay, you dah ambil, you tak ambil lagi subjek. ICS ambil lagi, integrated case study.
Belum
Tak ambil
ada.
lagi?
Belum.
Belum. Alright. You tak lama lagi. Agaknya sem depan kot yang ambil subjek tu.
Sem 7 lah saya. ICS.
You sekarang sem?
Sem 6.
So maksudnya nanti sem depan you akan get more exposure on the case study. But then under this subject, under this course, case study yang kita guna ni more specific to ethics cases. Alright, so nanti bila masuk kelas ICS, you dah faham dah macam mana you nak attempt untuk jawab case study, macam mana you nak understand case study. Okay, case study assignment yang saya bagi dekat you ni pendek je. Okay, biasanya macam zaman yang saya belajar dulu, ada certain subjek yang kita sebelum final exam kita dapat dulu case study. Berapa minggu sebelum tu kita dapat dulu sebab case study dia makan 3-4 helai muka surat. So kita kena baca dulu case study tu and then final exam kita hanya jawab question based on case study yang kita dah faham. Alright, so nak beritahu yang you dapat ni hanya yang simple case study, yang pendek je. Maybe you akan jumpa yang a bit complicated, long case study during your ICS class nanti. Okay, but never mind. Kalau you start attempt untuk answer this type of question from now, so it will give you some benefit lah untuk you nanti. Okay, so overall comment for group number 5 for group presentation. Okay, for the introduction, when you summarize the case, I prefer you to summarize the case in terms of in a point form or in infographic ataupun dalam bentuk picture. Alright, yang you letak tu saya rasa tu, yes, you summarize the case, but then when you put in a longer sentence tu, seorang tak dapat point. You kena assume yang saya tak tahulah ada class members baca ke tak case tadi ni, tapi you kena assume yang semua orang tak tahu pasal case ni. So bila semua orang tak tahu, macam mana? How you are going to explain the case study? So in introduction, it is better. Saya rasa setiap kali group present saya selalu beritahu yang saya lagi prefer kalau you present dalam bentuk infografik. Okay, you buat mind map ke ataupun you present in a flow ke ataupun you buat dalam bentuk cerita ke, itu semua akan add up mark on your creativity. Okay, ataupun you buat dalam bentuk kartun ke, okay, supaya jalan cerita case tu jadi menarik dan kita semua akan dapat point daripada case ni. Okay, and then second, group number 5, saya komen ni you just take note lah so that nanti later you can improve better. So next is saya tertunggu juga when you summarize the case, saya tertunggu you highlight the issue of the case, but then you tak highlight issue of the case. So supposed to be is the first slide you perlu ada summarize of the case in a form of infographic, kartun ataupun dalam bentuk point form. And then second slide you are supposed to highlight the issue of the case. So what is the issue of the case of Fort Pinto? Okay, itu sebenarnya adalah cara macam mana you nak jawab case study. Okay, once you dapat case study, the first thing you have to do after you read the case is you have to find the issue. Okay, you have to find the issue. Bila you dah tahu issue apa, then barulah you tahu macam mana nak solve the problem. Kalau you tak tahu issue, macam mana you nak solve problem? Okay, sebenarnya ini adalah cara ataupun ethical decision making punya step. First of all, you kena find dulu issue dia apa. So, untuk second slide tadi, you sepatutnya sebelum you masuk kepada menjawab question, okay, you sepatutnya highlight the issue of the case. Okay, so basically group number 5, what are the issues of this case of Fort Pinto? Group number 5. Ataupun ada group lain yang baca dan nak tolong jawab. Apa isu dia? Group number 5.
Isu dia pasal Ford company ni dia nak implement new design ke still dia nak ambil design yang ori tu?
Alright, so the issue is about the masalah kereta dia ni oil tank tu kan, dekat rear, dekat belakang kereta dia tu kan. Itu masalah dia. So you kena highlight lah. You kena highlight issue tu. Issue sekarang, Ford ni adalah well established ataupun well known company. Dia ni famous brand. Dia sebut fault, orang tahu dah kita keluaran fault macam mana. So sekarang ni, case ni dia fokus pada satu jenis kereta yang dikeluarkan oleh Ford, which is Ford Pinto. Okay, so you kena cerita the problem with Ford Pinto ni apa benda? Apa problem? Problemnya ialah berkaitan dengan oil tank yang ada dekat belakang kereta dia. Apa masalahnya sekarang? Bila dia punya design tu tak kena. Bila tak kena, kalau berlaku pelanggaran dari belakang, kereta tu akan cepat terbakar ataupun meletup kan, disebabkan oil tank yang berada di belakang. Dia tahu benda ni. You kena cerita macam tu lah. Dia tahu Ford ni dia tahu akan masalah ni sebab dia dah hantar test. Dia dah hantar test, dia dah tengok masalahnya ialah kat situ. Dan pernah juga berlaku insiden sebelum ni. So dia dah tahu sebab dia dah hantar test, dia tahu benda tu masalah, tapi sekarang ni dia dalam dilema sama ada nak tukar design yang baru ataupun dia nak proceed je dengan design tu. Sebab dalam masa yang sama dia nak achieve dia punya objektif. Objektif dia buat Ford Pinto ni untuk apa? Dia punya target customer siapa? Dia nak lower the price kan. Target customer dia ialah lower income people lah. Okay, so that lower income people also can drive Ford punya car. Ford punya car kan mahal kan. So dia nak keluarkan satu kereta yang affordable untuk orang yang lower income. So sekarang ni bila dia keluarkan kereta yang harga lagi murah, tapi design pula masalah. Okay, so dia dalam dilema. Kalau katakan dia tukar design, dia akan incur more cost. Okay, bila incur more cost, dia kena tinggikan harga kereta. Bila kena tinggikan harga kereta, so tak capai lah objektif dia nak produce lower cost car. Okay, so kena highlight lah sebab sekarang ni orang tak tahu apa benda isu you summarize the case tapi you tak highlight the issue. Okay, bila you highlight the issue baru faham, oh ini rupanya. Okay, and then baru you pergi kepada answering all the questions. Okay, saya komen ni, saya bukan komen dekat group number 5 sahaja saya bukan komen dalam group untuk group number 5 saja sebab saya sebenarnya mengajar you macam mana nak jawab soalan yang melibatkan case study. Okay, alright, now okay, next saya nak komen regarding group number 5. Boleh tak saya nak tengok slide you when you answering question number 1 on yang 5 question analysis tu. Can you share your slide on that? Alright. Question number 1. Okay. Alright, your answer is not appropriate. Okay, can you explain further on the legal? Yes, society alleged legal enforcement right was satisfied. Apa maksud you?
Macam yang saya nak tanya tadi.
Ada tak you explain further? Ini lebih kepada right kan? Sebab dalam 5 question analysis ni dia ada juga point question yang melibatkan right. So yang legal ni apa yang you nak explain? Kok lah saya tak faham tapi jawapan you betul. Grade number 5? You pun tak faham?
Kalau apa yang saya faham kan.
Okay.
Tapi tak sure lah. Macam kalau dia ubah design tu, dia still macam memuaskan hati community and tak salah pun di sisi undang-undang.
Itu saya rasa lebih kepada rights kot. Hak ni kan. Legal. Okay, tak apa. Nanti kita tengok macam mana nak attempt that
Hello?
question. Ya.
Hello?
Syahida.
Dengar.
Dengar. Cepat. Nak cakap apa?
Tak, pada media saya try mic saya tak bunyi tadi.
Alright. Tak apa. Okay. Next yang legal tu saya rasa tu lebih kepada rights tapi tak apa. Tapi ni you dapat answer ni daripada Google juga kata dah. Sebab tu you pun tak faham. Okay. But never mind. Okay, next comment saya, the last comment for question number 1 ni. Okay, you dah answer the question. Your answer is not appropriate and then you present the 5 question analysis. And then you tak conclude. So what? Lepas you done the 5 question analysis, so what? You tak conclude. Okay. So apa yang you perlu buat untuk menjawab soalan ni ialah you dah present profitable, legal, fair, right. Ada 5 question kan? Right. And then lagi satu apa? Fair. Profitable, legal, fair, right. And is it demonstrate expected motivation, virtues and characters kan? Alright. So bila you dah analyse, you kena come out dengan conclusion lah. Okay, so daripada 5 question analysis, you can see that out of 5 questions, only 1 question satisfy the need of fault ataupun kebanyakan, you boleh jawab kebanyakan. Kalau you tengok profitable, dia give benefit juga dekat fault kan, legal, fair, right. Tapi mostly kalau kita tengok, mostly bila you done the analysis using 5 question analysis ni, the decision not to install rubber blade is not appropriate sebab it only give benefit to shareholders and fault. Okay, but not to the customers and other stakeholders. Alright, so you boleh conclude macam tu. Sebab bila you buat jawapan ni, saya rasa 3 daripada tiga daripada 5 analysis question ni menunjukkan yang not to install rubber blading ni adalah benda yang tak appropriate. Okay, so you kena conclude lah. Okay, janganlah you bagi jawapan not appropriate and then you present 5 question analysis and then that's all. So what? You tak menjawab that question. Okay? Point tu dah ada lah, cumanya the flow macam mana you cara you menjawab soalan tu tak kena. Okay? Alright, so overall still a good presentation walaupun you boleh Google case ni tapi I appreciate also your effort sebab you nak Google pun you kena baca and then you Google pun banyak version, tak semestinya semuanya betul. Okay, I appreciate your effort. Okay, good. I think that's all lah untuk yang presentation. Okay, so that's all untuk yang comment for Fort Pinto presentation. So basically untuk question number 2 dan question number 3 tu tak ada apa sangat.
Doktor,
Ha.
boleh tak saya nak minta dia orang explain balik dalam untuk question number 2?
Question number 2, fault cost benefit analysis. Tak payah dia explain, saya explain. Okay, fault cost benefit analysis ni tengok tak dia punya table dalam case tu?
Tak doktor, maksud saya yang kenapa dikaitkan dengan TVM untuk dalam case tu.
TVM, time value of money.
Aha.
Ada jawapan tak? Group number 5. Time value of money tu apa dia? You dah ambil subjek business finance tak? Finance.
Ambil yang dia guna ada discounting tadi yang dia orang explain.
Group number 5. Ada jawapan? Tak ada? Saya rasa dia pun ambil jawapan dekat Google ni. Dia pun tak sure ni. Sekarang you faham on discounting PVM?
Okey lah dia tu. Okey lah, faham lah tu.
Tak apalah, tak apa. So for Fort Pinto case ni, okay, kita discuss sikit Discuss sikit based on my answer lah. Alright, overall sebenarnya group number 5 ni pun dah menjawab soalan untuk Fort Pinto case dan jawapan dia pun sama juga, slightly ada sikit je lah kot yang berbeza. Okay, first of all question number 1 question number 1 not to install the rubber bladder. So the decision not to install the rubber bladder, is it appropriate or not? Okay, so my answer is not appropriate lah. Okay, so for the 5 question analysis, you have to use 5 question analysis. Yang ni nanti saya akan ajar lepas ni. Kita akan ada lecture sikit lepas ni. Right, for the 5 question analysis, first of all, the first question is the decision profitable? Okay, is the decision profitable? So kita kena check dari sudut stakeholder interest. Okay, stakeholder interest. Stakeholder ni besar bukan shareholder, stakeholder. Okay, so is the decision profitable? So kita tengok dia bagi tahu tadi install rubber bladder were not cost effective. Okay, so kalau dia tak install, by not installing it we will give more profit. So the cost installing it the cost of installing it exceed the benefit. So it is not profitable. So it is not profitable for shareholders and also for company. Okay, that question number 1. Okay, question number 2, is the decision legal? Is the decision legal? So we can see that Ford is a legal company. Okay, Ford is bukan underground company. Ford ni orang dah kenal. So dia legal company. And then the production of Pinto also legal because he had go through all the test and procedure. Sebab dia dapat tahu tu daripada test lah kan. Okay, so dia dah buat test tu, dia ikut procedure tu dah ada. So dia legal. So not to install rubber bladder is considered as legal lah. Sebab dia lahir daripada company yang legal. Dan dia lahir daripada dia ikut procedure. So not to install tu decision Ford. So ini consider sebagai legal. Okay. And then third question, is the decision fair? Okay, is the decision fair? So stakeholder interest, dari segi interest of stakeholder, kita tengok it is not fair to Pinto's customer because they do not know about the faulty tank until main incident happened. Bila customer beli kereta Ford Pinto, dia tak tahu pun ada masalah tu. Sampailah terlampau banyak kes kereta meletup, and then barulah dia realise. Tapi customer realise masa tu pun tak boleh buat apa dah sebab dia dah bayar, dah beli kereta tu. Okay, so it is not fair to Ford Pinto customer. So Ford juga salah sebab dia withhold information. Withhold information ni maksudnya dia tak disclose information dekat customer pasal all tank design yang salah tu. Okay, memang dia tak akan disclose. Kalau dia disclose, rugilah orang tak nak beli kereta dia. So withhold information tu salah. Okay, again it is not fair to the customer lah. Ford tahu akan masalah oil tank tu, tapi dia tak beritahu, dia withhold information tu. So it is not fair for customer. Okay, and then projecting the company loss at the cost for society is wrong. All the cost absorbed by 100 people. Okay, so that's maksudnya dia tak fair lah. Okay, the fourth question, is the decision right? Is the decision right? So decision ni kita rasa dia violate right of people tak? Of course. Sebab dia violate human right to live by neglecting safety issue. Dia ignore safety issue. So sekarang ni maksudnya dia violate humans right. Okay, kita manusia ni ada right, ada hak untuk hidup. So bila dia neglect safety issue, maksudnya dia dah violate, maksudnya ini tak appropriate lah. Okay, and then you boleh ni from my point of view lah. You boleh tambah juga dengan point yang group 5 dah present tadi lah. Okay. And then question number 5 is the decision demonstrate expected motivation, virtues and character. So of course not. Bila dia neglect safety issue, dia withhold information, dia ignore people punya safety. So of course fault ni not not showing virtues, moral virtues and character. Okay, because they also ignoring the field report and neglect safety issue lah. Okay, so the conclusion for question number 1 is therefore the decision not to install the rubber bladder is not appropriate. It only give benefits to shareholders and Ford company but not the customers and other people. Okay, itu cara jawab question number 1. Okay, question number 2. Question number 2, what faults can you identify in fault cost benefit analysis? Okay, apa yang you boleh tengok dekat fault cost benefit analysis ni, okay, dia calculate cost on the expense of human life. Maksudnya dia value human life. Macam group number 5 cakap tadi lah. Kita tak boleh nak value, maksudnya kan dia nak kurangkan cost. Tapi dalam masa yang sama dia korbankan customer dia, which is wrong. Maksudnya dia absorb the cost tu dekat semua orang yang dah mati sebab berlanggar pakai kereta Ford Pinto tu. Alright, so calculate the benefits of the company at the cost of the society. Second fault dia calculate the value of human life, which is wrong. Okay, as per Ford calculation, all the cost it absorbed by the 180 people died. Okay, maksudnya semua cost yang dia incurred ni diabsorb oleh 180 orang yang dah mati terbakar tu, which is wrong lah. Okay, alright. Question number 3. Should Ford have given its Pinto customer the option to have the rubber bladder installed during production for say $20? So my answer similar with group number 5 lah. Suppose Ford should install the rubber blade at no charge, okay, to their customer, since the faulty of pump tank is already known at the first place. So actually this is the fault mistake because they ignore the field report and in this case neglect the safety of their customer. Saya pun try attempt question case tadi ni. So this is my answer lah, sama juga macam group number 5 cakap tadi. Okay, sepatutnya dia bagi free of charge. Patutnya dia revamp balik car Ford Pinto tu. Dia panggil balik kereta tu, dia revamp balik. Okay, redesign balik. Okay, memang dia akan incur cost tapi you kena tengok pada reputation later. Okay, bila you tak neglect safety, of course nanti you akan ada loyal customer. And atas dasar tanggungjawab ethical issues ni, so you suppose walaupun incur cost, you suppose kena panggil balik lah kereta tu untuk redesign. Okay, so sepatutnya customer tak perlu bayar lah. Okay, Ford patut install at no charge. Okay, now for this question, dia apa tak ada dalam question ni, tapi saya nak tanya juga from Islamic perspective. Okay, saya kena include Islamic perspective. Okay, sebab ini kita sebenarnya cover untuk topik ethical framework for business environment. Alright, for what do you think from Islamic perspective? Macam mana Islamic approach yang kita boleh gunakan dekat Ford Pinto, untuk isu Ford Pinto ni? What do you think?
Maqasid syariah. 5 tu.
You just give apa you rasa the decision not to install rubber bladder tu? What do you think from Islamic ethical point of views?
Unethical.
Unethical, what?
Satu
Of
sebab
course
dia ada,
unethical.
dia ada unsur yang ketidakpastian yang mana dia sembunyikan maklumat.
Yeah, withholding information. Okay, so withholding information is wrong. Okay, because in Islam, when you do any transaction, you kena clear. Kalau ada defects apa, you kena beritahu. Kalau customer tak kisah, then but tak apalah. So according to Islam, this is also considered as fraud. Withholding information is also wrong. You boleh letakkan in Islam, you should be fair to all parties. Fraud is also prohibited. Lagi-lagi bila dia involve people's life ni. Okay. So what is your suggestion? What is your suggestion?
Kena beritahu apa
Keadaan
barang tu
kereta tu.
produk dia tu
Okay.
macam mana.
Sama ada you bagi tahu ataupun you revamp the car, you buat balik, ataupun you give compensation untuk yang dah meninggal sebab kereta ataupun cedera tu. So you give, kalau you bertanggungjawab, company tu patut bagi compensation sebab tu adalah salah company. Okay. So basically you kena ground your decision atau your answer ni based on ethical philosophies, ethical theories yang kita dah belajar sebelum ni. Okay.
Doktor, nak tanya yang legal tu kan, dia legal ni dari sudut yang mana doktor? Yang 5 framework tu?
Undang-undang lah.
Kan
Legal ni
kalau kereta biasanya kan dia macam dia buat test, lepas tu dia hantar untuk apa ni, tengok lepas tak untuk kerajaan punya government
Dan
process
dia
tu
dah
lah.
buat. Maksudnya dari segi legalnya, pengeluaran kereta tu legal. Dia tak keluarkan kereta tu underground ke apa. Ford Company pun adalah company yang legal. So dari segi legality, dia tak violate legal, dia tak violate undang-undang pun. Cumanya salah dia sebab dia tidak dia withhold information. Dia dah tahu benda tu tapi dia tak, mungkin adalah dia tipu pada report ke apa, kita tak tahu. Okay, so dari segi legality, dia legal, benda ni legal. Remember, dalam topik first topic, introduction topic, kita ada discuss the difference between legality and ethics. Kan? Adakah orang yang follow legal, yang betul-betul follow laws ni adalah orang yang ethical? Kan kita dah discuss. Dia memang legal lah. Tapi dari sudut ethicality dia tak ethical.
Faham? Satu kalau satu yang saya nampak dia macam dalam R&D punya syarat. Habis dari sudut accountant macam tak lepas sebab dia tak lepas tadi keselamatan je. Tak ada nilai.
Sorry, macam mana?
Dari sudut R&D kan dia buat R&D selama 3 tahun, research and development untuk innovation apa semua tu. Lepas tu tiba-tiba dia keluarkan untuk production. Sepatutnya kalau dalam sudut
Okay, now
Doktor,
yes.
saya nak tanya, kan isu daripada kes tu sama ada nak implement design baru ataupun yang ori kan? Isu dia. Lepas tu,
Rubber bladder tu.
Lepas tu, saya macam bila baca kes tu saya adalah macam macam terfikir isu dia macam macam mana kita nak value human life tu kan. Nanti kalau dalam exam, kalau saya jawab yang macam mana kita nak value human life tu, boleh ke?
Macam mana nak value human life mana?
Dalam isu dia, kalau dia tanya isu dalam kes tu, saya jawab yang
Boleh?
boleh.
Kalau katakan dalam soalan ni tak tanya kan, kalau kata soalan please define ethical issues in the case of Fort Pinto. So one of the issues is the value human life tu bolehlah jadikan salah satu isu. Okay, sebab dia tukar pula antara cost yang dia kena ikut dengan value of human life. Seolah-olah dia tak nak ikut more cost kan untuk buat kereta. Seolah-olah macam dia value, macam rendah sangat value hidup orang ni. Faham tak? Semata-mata sebab dia nak more profit, tak nak ikut more cost. Dia sanggup sacrifice, dia sanggup ketepikan, dia neglect, dia ignore human life ni value. Mentang-mentang bukan saudara mara dia yang beli. Tu. Faham tak?
Maknanya boleh akan attack.
Boleh. Amat issues lah yang ada dalam case tadi ni. So most probably, most probably dalam soalan mungkin juga ditanya tentang first of all find the ethical issues ataupun discuss ethical issues that you can find from the case study of Fort Pinto. Mungkin akan ada soalan, tapi dalam ni saya tak create soalan tu sebab sepatutnya you perlu present benda ni masa introduction. Okay? Alright. Okay, clear pasal Fort Pinto, beres Okay, kalau okay, saya nak hari ni saya saya start kelas awal ni sebab saya nak akhirnya ada lecture sikit. Simple lecture lah. Okay, kita dah habis on business ethics fundamentals. Okay, and then kita dah go through on moral reasoning in business yang kita belajar segala macam etik, Western ethics, Islamic ethics. Okay, and then now we move to next topic, which is on ethical framework for business environment. Okay. Under this topic is still related to two topics before. So untuk topik ethical framework for business environment, saya tak start dengan lecture, saya start dengan presentation sebab saya nak you 5 question analysis semua tu saya tak ajar lagi, saya tahu. Tapi saya nak you baca dulu sebelum saya ajar. Okay, kalau saya just pesan dekat you, baca dulu sebelum saya ajar, saya tahu you tak baca. Okay, kalau bila kita bagi kerja, barulah you akan study dulu. And then you akan rasa nanti, bila you study dulu, and then when I explain, you can gain more understanding. Alright, you akan gain more, you akan lagi faham. Alright, okay, next. Okay, so basically ethical framework for business environment, saya tak nak go through slide satu-satu cumanya saya nak beritahu siapa yang ada textbook tu you boleh baca from your textbook lah. Kalau tak ada textbook, you dah tahu pasal topik ni, so you boleh cari bahan bacaan lain from research article atau internet. Alright, so basically ethical framework for business environment ni apa dia? This is where a company use basis yang macam kita belajar sebelum ni ethical principle, ethical philosophies tu. Okay, kat sinilah business biasanya guna. Sebab kalau business nak buat decision, okay, bila nak buat decision making, dia tak boleh semata-mata based on theory sahaja. Sebab kalau based on theory dengan ethical philosophy ni, benda tu general, too general. Alright, general sangat. So dia macam tak boleh nak guide ke mana ethical decision making yang perlu company buat. Okay, so that's why business ni come out dengan ethical framework. So basically, ethical framework ni ground basis dia ialah ethical philosophy dengan ethical theories. Okay? Alright. Kita tengok sikit introduction dia. So previously business made decision making based only on profit and legality. motivated only by self-interest. So in the future, business and professional decisions will be expected to be ethically defensible from a stakeholder perspective. Okay, so corporate and professional code of conduct is general and not enough. So must be able to use the principle, approach and frameworks. Ini yang macam yang saya cakap tadi lah. Okay, before this, company hanya fokus kepada macam mana nak increase profit je. Nak pursue dia punya self-interest. Okay, dia tak fikir dah stakeholders, dia fikir shareholders je. Sebab tu dulu kita hanya dengar perkataan shareholders je. Asal company shareholders, asal company shareholders. Kita jarang dengar pasal stakeholders. Okay, sebab stakeholders ni dia skop dia lagi besar. Okay, sebab dulu company dia tak kisah stakeholder ni nak tak lah. Okay, yang penting dia gain profit, dia boleh bagi ke dia punya shareholders. But in the future, people dia akan tengok pada company yang lebih menjaga dia punya stakeholder instead of dia punya shareholders. Alright, so that's why bila nak buat decision making, business dia kena ambil kira juga interest of stakeholders. Okay, contohnya company kalau dia ignore interest of stakeholder, contohnya macam yang berlaku di Selangor lah, ada kilang, dia buang sisa dia dalam air. So apa jadi? Seluruh rakyat Selangor tak ada air sebab air tercemar. Okay, itu orang akan marah, orang akan boycott dia punya company. Contohnya. Okay, that's why a company ni kalau nak buat decision, dia kena fikir stakeholder sebab in the long term, dia akan effect juga company dia. Okay, zaman sekarang jangan main-main. Sekejap je orang boleh viral kan. Lepas tu semua netizen boycott, tak beli dia punya produk. So that's why saya kata dulu business dia hanya fikir nak gain profit je. Sekarang tak, dia kena ambil kira juga dia punya stakeholders. Okay, so macam saya cakap tadi, setakat codes of conduct, ethical theories, ethical principle tak cukup. It's not enough. Okay, so company must be able to use the principle, approach and frameworks. Lagi satu, kalau you sebagai accounting student pun, you pernah terfikir tak nanti you akan belajar pasal ethics, berkenalan dengan Aristotle, Imam Ghazali, dengan Kant. You tak terfikir pun sebab benda ni biarlah student filosofi yang yang ambil kan. You tak pernah terfikir. Macam tu juga dengan manager of the business. Dia orang tak pernah tahu pun ada ethical principle, ada ethical law apa semua ni. Sampailah sampailah kepada bisnes ni disediakan dengan code of conduct, dengan framework. Barulah dia tahu. Sebenarnya benda ni dah lama wujud tapi dia tak perasan pun. Sebab dia tak heran pun dengan filosofer semua ni. Okay, so that's why business ni perlu kepada framework. So EDM framework, EDM ni ialah ethical decision making. So EDM framework basically assess the ethicality of a proposed decision or action by examining. Ni antara benda yang biasanya bila kita nak buat ethical decision making, so kita akan ambil kira 3 points ni. Dia punya consequences, rights and duty affected, and also motivation or virtues expected. So basically, 3 benda ni, 3 points ni, semuanya based on theory yang kita dah belajar. Okay, itu saya highlightkan consequentialism, deontology, justice. Okay, yang last tu ialah virtue ethics. Alright, next. Okay, so ini daripada 3 points consideration tadi. So impact ni kepada siapa? Okay, for point number 1, number 2, impact mostly to stakeholders. Point number 3, motivation of virtues aspect, biasanya impact dia kepada decision maker. So bila you ada macam Fort Pinto tadi, kalau lah katakan dia atas rasa tanggungjawab, dia tukar dia punya design tu, okay, so macam mana orang akan pandang dia? Orang akan pandang dia dengan dia sebenarnya akan gain respect dan dia punya reputation, dia punya image tu sebenarnya lagi tinggi. Okay, so ini dia katakan impact tu kepada dia punya decision maker. Okay, Right, so basically this is the framework for EDM ethical decision making. Ini ialah yang tadi tu lah tiga three things to consider when
5
you
framework
this ethical decision. Sorry?
5 step start.
No. Ini bukan 5 question. Ini adalah yang tadi lah yang lah ni. Contohnya quick test lah, maksudnya kalau benda tu boleh you decide dalam keadaan segera, so it's okay. Kalau kata tak boleh, kita kena tengok banyak benda ni. Macam Fort Pinto ni, you tak boleh guna sniff test je. Tak boleh. You nak decide nak letak full bladder tu, you tak boleh nak decide on the spot. You kena tengok banyak dari banyak sudut. So maksudnya yang tu you tak boleh guna sniff test. You kena guna analysis yang lagi tara. Right? Sniff test ni just a quick test. Kalau simple-simple isu, bolehlah guna. Okay, kalau tak, you kena guna analysis yang lagi tara lah, yang lagi detail. Okay, dan salah satu analysis yang detail tu kita kenali sebagai stakeholder impact analysis. Okay, yang you buat tadi 5 question analysis tu adalah salah satu daripada stakeholder impact analysis lah. Sebab kalau you tengok tadi 5 question analysis tu, you ada katakan is it legal? So apa impact pada stakeholder? Is it fair? Apa impact pada stakeholder? Is it apa tadi lagi? Fair, legal, lagi apa? Is it right? So apa impact pada stakeholder? Okay, itu kita panggil sebagai stakeholder impact analysis. So stakeholder impact analysis ni dia tak semestinya guna satu analysis, one type of analysis which is 5 question. Dia ada beberapa lagi lah. Okay, dia dikenali sebagai stakeholder impact analysis. So macam saya cakap tadi, sniff test is insufficient in the sense that they really represent a comprehensive examination of the decision. Sniff test tadi dia tak komprehensif. Okay, untuk quick decision boleh. Kalau kena pergi thoroughly tak boleh. You kena buat stakeholder impact analysis. Okay. Alright. Okay, so basically these are the fundamental interests of stakeholders. Okay, you nak buat stakeholder impact analysis ni, you kena tahu dulu apa interest of stakeholder. Okay, baru you boleh buat analysis. Okay, so first of all, stakeholder punya interest ialah well-offness. Okay, the proposed decision should result in more benefits than cost. Of course lah, stakeholder mestilah kita nak benefit. Okay, fairness, kena make sure that distribution of benefit and burden should be fair. Then right. Okay, right. The proposition should not offend the rights of the stakeholders. And virtuosity, the proposition should demonstrate virtues reasonably expected. Okay, so these are 4 fundamental interests of stakeholders. So when you do the stakeholders impact analysis, you can make sure that all 4 interests of stakeholders, you kena make sure at least you kena make sure the majority ni kena fulfill. Alright? Okay. Okay, ni assessment of quantifiable impact ni boleh baca dalam textbook you. Okay, sama ada company tu you nak fokus pada profit. Bila nak buat keputusan, you kena ada objektif kan? You kena ada objektif. Okay, katakan company nak fokus pada profit or loss saja. Kalau nak fokus pada profit or loss je, you kena buat ethical decision making yang fokus pada company dengan shareholders je lah. Okay, ataupun dia nak tengok profit or loss dan nak include sekali externalities, cost benefit analysis katakan. Okay, ataupun lagi detail lagi, dia nak include profit or loss, dia nak include cost benefit analysis dan dia nak include juga risk benefit analysis. Okay, ataupun paling detail sekali, dia rank pula. Okay, gabungan-gabungan ni dia rank pula dengan stakeholders. Okay, katakan stakeholders kan ada banyak, so dia ranking, maknanya prioritize the stakeholder. Katakan stakeholder yang paling dekat dengan company ni apa, so dia rankkan dulu. Okay, then dia kena make sure stakeholder yang ada more priority, maknanya lagi dekat dengan company dia, stakeholder tu lah yang dia kena fulfill dulu, interest stakeholder tu. Okay. Alright. Okay, ni tadi yang you dah. So dalam stakeholder impact analysis, biasanya dia akan guna, ini adalah traditional decision making approach. Okay, dalam stakeholder impact analysis ni, stakeholder impact analysis ni modern punya. Okay, tapi still dia gunakan yang traditional dan dia modify. Okay, salah satu tadi ialah 5 question approach. Okay, decision with short term impacts and no externalities. Okay. Apa untuk stakeholder impact analysis, you juga boleh guna modified moral standard approach. This is for medium and long term decision involve externalities, or modified pricing approach, ground rule ethics. So basically you kena tahulah benda ni. Katakan macam soalan tadi dia state as tu, you kena buat stakeholder impact analysis based on 5 question approach. So you tahu. Okay, kalau kata question kata okay, you buat you analyse the problem of Fort Pinto using modified pricing approach. So you kena tahulah. Okay, biasanya dalam question dia akan beritahu lah, so that you punya answer tak general sangat. Okay, lebih terfokus. Okay, so ini rupa bentuk modified 5 question approach yang kita guna dalam stakeholder impact analysis. Okay, so saya kata tadi ada satu kolom untuk question, ada 5 questions, and ada satu kolom untuk stakeholder interest yang kita examine based on the question. Okay, so bila kita dah analyse satu persatu ni, and then barulah kita boleh come up with the decision, ethical decision. Okay, this is 5 question approach. Okay, then next is moral standards approach. So moral standard approach ni dia based on 5 approaches of ethical standard. Okay, you nanti you baca lah. Okay, so you nak analyse you punya issues tu ataupun you punya ethical decision making tu, you kena based on the question lah for each approach ni. Okay, next is Pastine's approach. Okay, so berasanya Pastine approach ni based on rule ethics, ground rule ethics. Okay, so purpose of examination. Okay, ini ini semua you boleh baca. Kalau saya explain pun sama juga dalam buku, sebab you baca je. Okay. Okay, so basically when you doing ethical decision making, dia ada punya pitfalls antara antara benda-benda yang kadang-kadang you terlepas pandang ataupun you tak include masa you buat ethical decision making. Okay, so first selalunya pitfall dia ialah conforming to an unethical corporate culture. Okay, and then misinterpreting public expectation. Okay, focus on short-term profit and shareholder only impact. Focusing on legalities, limits to fairness, limit to right canvas. So bila ni antara pitfall lah, antara benda-benda yang selalunya orang ignore ataupun orang terlepas pandang bila making any ethical decision. Okay, so basically step for an ethical decision, macam saya cakap tadi lah, bila you nak decide, bila you nak buat any ethical decision, you kena identify dulu issues. Dah identify issues, you kena identify dulu you punya stakeholder group and interest. Siapa yang akan affected daripada you punya decision nanti. Okay, and then you rankkan stakeholder you. Okay, yang mana yang patut you utamakan. Okay, interest yang mana you patut utamakan. Okay, and then baru you assess the impact of proposed action. Okay. Okay. Ini adalah ethical decision analysis suggested by American Accounting Association 1993. Okay. Alright. Okay. So for the conclusion, stakeholder impact analysis offers a formal way of bringing into a decision the needs of an organization and society, and the concept of stakeholder impact analysis need to be applied together as a set, not a standalone technique. Okay. So basically inilah yang dipanggil sebagai stakeholders impact analysis. Okay, boleh? So basically untuk ethical framework for business environment tu je lah. Sebab yang basis-basis tu kita dah belajar sebelum ni. Okay, dia tak ada apa, dia cuma ambil daripada apa yang you dah belajar sebelum ni, dibuatkan dalam bentuk framework untuk bisnes. Itu je. Okay. So basically you kena baca, baru you faham lah, you kena baca. Then
Doktor,
yeah.
together as a set ni maksud together as a set and not as stand-alone teknik ni maksudnya kena compile lah semua step tu kan.
Maksud bukan compile, maksudnya macam 5 question tu you tak boleh lah nak choose satu je. You 5 question you kena lah fulfill all the 5. You tak boleh nak pilih you tak boleh nak kata you nak pilih 5 question sikit, pasti sikit. You tak boleh nak ambil sikit-sikit. Sebab bila you ambil sikit-sikit tu sebenarnya you nak fulfill you punya interest. Bukan you nak fulfill stakeholder punya interest. You ambil benda yang you rasa boleh menang adik you je. That's why tak boleh. You kena ambil semua as a whole. Kena tengok, tak boleh pilih ni sikit, tak boleh. Okay. Okay, clear tak untuk this framework?
Clear doktor?
Okay. Kalau clear, so I think that's all. That's all for ethical framework for business environment. Okay. Next topic kita raya dulu. After raya, we are going to proceed with Malaysian Business Code of Ethics. Malaysian Business Code of Ethics. Okay, ini adalah topik yang last under ethics lah. After that, kita akan masuk kepada corporate governance pula. Okay. Alright. So for Malaysian Business Code of Ethics, task untuk topik ni saya akan bagi next week. InsyaAllah before raya. By Tuesday tu tolong remind me sebab hari raya saya tak nak buka laptop ni. Remind me by Tuesday untuk hantar, untuk bagi assignment untuk next class after raya. Okay. Alright. So you hari tu dah jawab quiz kan? Quiz 1 dah. Report daripada yang perlu hantar tu jangan lupa hantar and then that's all for today I think. Okay, any question regarding the topic today?
Doktor. Okay doktor, nak tanya cara umum je lah doktor. Okay. Macam mana doktor kita nak deal dengan information yang macam-macam, yang pelbagai ni. Kalau macam kita ikut isu situasi semasa kan, kita nak deal dengan situasi semasa ni macam kadang-kadang dia macam maklumat tu agak panas, kadang-kadang maklumat tu agak relax, simple je. Itu macam
Dia tak
mana
payah
doktor?
tahu lah. Senang je. Sebenarnya kalau semua benda kita nak ambil tahu, memeningkan kepada kita sebab kita fokus pada benda apa yang kita nak buat. Alright. Sebab you sebagai student, saya rasa first thing first is you gain knowledge je lah. You ambil lah sebanyak mana ilmu yang ada masa universiti ni. Sebab you takkan dapat peluang ni bila you dah habis universiti, you dah takkan dapat peluang macam ni. Okay. So as a student, you jangan, kalau saya fokus lah kepada benda apa yang patut buat. Okay, sebab study ni incurred cost juga tau. Bila incurred cost, you kalau boleh habiskan cepat lah. Lagi cepat lagi bagus lah. Lagi lama universiti lagi banyak duit you keluar. Okay, you gain knowledge, you gain experience. You kumpul lah sebanyak mana knowledge masa ni lah. Lepas you dah start kerja nanti you dah tak ada masa nak hadap-hadap semua ni. So sekarang ni apa yang my advice is, kalau zaman belajar, you janganlah nak campur adukkan, jangan nak ambil kira isu luar lah apa, dah tak apa. Selagi dia tak kacau you fokus dulu apa benda yang you patut buat. Ni dalam hidup ni saya rasa, saya tak tahu lah mungkin orang lain pendapat, tapi saya rasa dalam hidup ni biarlah kita buat sesuatu biar berfokus. Bila fokus, kita akan achieve better lah. Bila kita fokus, instead of semua benda kita nak campur adukkan, kita nak jadi multitasking sangat. Lalah yang dikendong yang dikendong apa? Yang dikejar tak dapat, yang dikendong berciciran. Gitu. Okay. So, itulah saya nak respon sangat pun sebab saya tak, sometimes yelah kita, sebab kita hidup sekarang ni information tu senang sangat dapat. Cuma atas kita je nak ignore ke, nak concern sangat ke. Okay.
Okay, Doktor. Thank you, Doktor.
Alright. Okay, I think kalau tak ada apa-apa untuk topik ni, tak ada apa-apa soalan. I think that's all for today. Kita habis kelas awal lah hari ni. Okay. Tangguhkan kelas dengan tasbih kifarah dan surat Nas. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Doktor, thank you, Doktor.
Okay.
Thank you, Doktor.